Hey, how y'all doing today? I didn't realize how late I'm on my uh, eighth house sit, and it is a repeat. And I realized I thought I had one more day here, and as I realized, and that'll be my last full day here. Um, I have enjoyed my stay here. This is my like I said, this is a return sit for me with the pets, and just some of the things that I've learned um, about the pets and the pet sitting, in addition to some of the things that I found out about me. Okay. Okay, so let's start off. My name is Deborah Bonaparte. I'm the creator of Radical Health Series here on YouTube. And my goal is to bring Black women to a place of healing, especially with a abusive, specifically a sexually abusive background. And, from a young childhood, I put it like that. And I do that through just talking about ways to heal, my own healing. As an introduction, maybe this is something that'll work for you. I found out that primarily travel is a way that I heal. Okay. Okay. So this particular house sit, I did a video, I think it was house sit number 6, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it's a repeat, like I said, and it's a dog and a cat. The dog is a bigger dog here in the Melbourne, Australia area. He's it's called a stag hound and a ridgeback. So he's a pretty good dog, very, very gentle. Well, most of the time he kind of at the dog park, he's kind of what do you call it, a dominant personality at the dog park. He's a little about 7, maybe 7.5 years old, but relatively gentle till they get out there in the park and want to run around. He every now and then with me, he'll try to push his weight around, which I'm a big woman, so hey, we can tussle a little bit. So, but no, he's fun to be with. For the cat, just he does his own thing. He might show up occasionally 2 or 3 times a day to be pet for about 35, 40 seconds, and he's good. So he spends most of his time outside in the sun like most cats do, and he has his own. She has an extra bedroom that he sleeps in, but no litter box. He goes outside. Most of the time he buries his poop. The dog, I do pick up here and I use the word pick up lightly. They have like a what do you call it? It's a hole, but it's the straight edge hole that they use with a dustpan. So I just got to, I don't have to bend over, just knock it right into the dustpan and empty it into the garbage. Most of the people here do recycling. Is From what I could tell, it's mandatory. I would say it's mandatory. Every place that I've been at since I've been here, they've had regular and at least one recycle. Some places do the composting with the food scraps. Other places don't. This one does. So there's the recycle with the plastics and glass and stuff. There's the garbage, and then there's the compost. And some people have their own compost. This particular lady, she grows a lot of her own food and different plants and flowers around. So they have their own compost bin. But this is kind of full, so the rest of it goes in the scrap. They have their own solar system. Most of the places I've been at, they have their own solar system for heating whatever hot water, electricity. I'm trying to think. And for heating Yeah, because it's winter time here. But one of the places that it was air conditioned. So, but yeah. What else here? Um, oh, on the what I've noticed at the park. Okay, there were two parks here. One was supposed to be for the weekend only because the kids in school on the weekend, there's a field that they were playing couple of sports activities that they were playing. So one of the field, the main field that we go to is that sports field also. And they were mainly playing on the weekends. And then so we would take them to the other park. Watch out for your pets. At the other park, and lady told me there was a pond that the dog liked to swim in. Okay. Or like to get in. And he did the first time we went out there, the dog didn't go into the pond or whatever. And then by the third day, he was walking through there with water. And I noticed later on in the day, he was scratching, and I didn't correlate. Like I said, he was scratching and clawing later on in the day. And, I travel with, I'm not only prescription meds, but I do a lot of herbs. I do, I wouldn't call them homeopathic, but maybe they could be classified as homeopathic. But I travel with water purifier, GSC. I travel with activated charcoal in case of poisoning. I travel with all kind of other herbs and vitamins, natural supplements that I travel with that I use for me. But like I said, we got in the habit of going to the pond, the park in the mornings, and then in the evening I would do the other place, and just for a little bit of a variety in the routine. Not as much as I did before. Before I was going, some days I would walk around the block, other days I go around a different route and different parks, stuff like that, which was exciting for me. I loved it, but it was very, I found out from the owner that it was very unsettling for him. So I saved my adventure for just me, and in the mornings we go out to the park for walks, and that's it. Basically the same park every time. But this one I added extra park. On the about 5 days in, about 5 or 6 days in, he ran into the water and he was having fun. He jumped in the water, and I was like, oh, okay, he's having a good time. You like that water. And I kind of like, okay, he got out and shook it off and started walking. And another lady was walking by the dog. And mind you, this is the area for they call it off leash. But yeah, there's several. Most of the parks here that I've seen is off leash. If it's not any kids there playing or stuff like that, most of especially if they have a gate or a large green space area, the dogs are allowed off leash. And so another lady came by with a smaller dog. The dog ran to the water, and this lady had a fit. She's hollering and screaming and cussing at this dog. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, it's just water. What an overreaction. And so then when the dog finally came out, they kept walking or whatever. When you get as a pet person, whether you're watching them or not, and they get close to you, they'll follow you wherever you walk to, they'll follow you. So we left there and came back home and back to the house, and I gave him, and I started giving, because it's kind of cold here, so I started giving him a little bit of breakfast, not as much, but a little bit. And so then later on in the day, I noticed he was kind of a little bit agitated, didn't seem to be able to sleep well, to take his usual naps. I just thought he was antsy and bugging me about taking him out and stuff like that. And so then later on in the evening, for his evening walk, I took him to the regular park, and it's like every 5 or 10 steps, he kept diving on the ground and rolling over and getting on his back, and really just, and he would stay down normally he would stay down for maybe, I would say maybe 15, 20 seconds. He was down there for almost a minute. And it was like everything else, he didn't run around with the other dogs. He was too busy shaking his head, scratching his back, and I was like, okay, that's pretty unusual. I mean, it was usually his dog friends that he run around with and play with. He wasn't half playing with them. He just kept rolling over, basically scratching his back. And I was like, okay, that's unusual. And then when it was time to go, he usually hesitates. So it's just like kids in the park. They don't want to go. And when I said, okay, let's go. And I went out to the parking lot and he jumped right in the car, just like he was just exhausted. And I was like, okay, hey, we don't have to argue. I'm good. And when I say argue, I mean, I'm coaxing him or whatever. And he jumped right in the car. And I was like, okay. So I came back here and I'm working on the computer. They have a few minutes in between there. Not long after I get back, usually within 30 minutes after I get back to have their dinner. The cat and the dog have their dinner. The cat has breakfast. The cat was having breakfast only until I started adding a little bit more for the dog in the morning because of coldness. And then in the evening, they both eat at the same time. And he was, after lunch or after dinner, he kept running around. And I was like, he kept running up to me and, pushing his nose in. And I was like, oh, okay, what's wrong? And I started, there was some medicine for the dog's ear. But anyway, to make a long story short, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner and he ran by and I looked at him and he had hives. His fur was all poked up and it really freaked me out. I mean, I should have took a picture. I didn't, but I was like, oh my God, what happened? What happened? And so I thought it was something that he might have got into, something that got on his fur or something like that. And he kept running around. I mean, we were up until that night, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, just trying to figure out, because he couldn't sleep. He kept running around. Every time he would sit down and relax, he would turn around and start scratching and rubbing it, underside on the thing. I thought it was one thing. I got just household stuff. Vinegar with water. I kind of rubbed it on there to see if that was help. I didn't want to put peroxide on there because I didn't know if it was the skin was broken, wasn't bleeding. He was still pretty well hopping around, being active. And he just wasn't. I thought about putting some activated charcoal on his fur, and I said, "Ooh, that would be a real mess." But trying to get him outside. By then it was dark. It was after hours. It's like, okay, if I take him to the urgent care, the veterinarian, he's not bleeding. So, but it definitely was an urgent reaction. And then it's like, okay. And I remembered when earlier in that morning, when the lady had the fit about her dog running in the water, I was like, okay, that was the difference. Everything else we did, the food was the same. What I was feeding him was the same. The walks were the same. Everything else was the same. That was the only difference that it was. And it dawned on me, ooh, okay. He had shampoo here for a skin condition that he has. And by him being a big dog, I didn't know if you put him in the bathtub. I mean, washing a big dog, any dog can be messy, but washing a big dog, and she has a lot of glass. I'll put it like that. She's a collector. She has a lot of glass in here. And I was like, So I was like, okay. So if that was me, what would I do? So I got some of the remedies, some of the homeopathic remedies that I bought for me, and I broke it down into smaller quantities for him. And I gave it to him. It was probably maybe about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and just kind of stayed awake. listen. Every now and then I walk by him and watch to see how he was doing. He ran around for a little bit. And probably about 30 to 45 minutes in, he started getting a little bit more rest in between his laying down. He was actually able to relax, not full on, until basically 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I noticed he was quiet. I didn't hear him moving for about 30, I would say about 30 to 45 minutes. And that's when I finally went to sleep. And it was dark, and I didn't want it because he's sensitive to light and stuff at night. If you don't want to be on a bedtime, this is on a schedule, this pet sitting is not for you. These pets have schedules, scheduled time for walk, activities, scheduled time to eat. I mean, I've had my own schedule for a very long time. So I eat when I get ready. I go out, I do other things, activities, whatever I want to do, and it's no time frame. It actually never was, really, to be honest with you. Very little time frame, even when I was working a job, which was that's a whole nother story. But anyway, but yeah, but they don't care what time you go to bed. Well, I'll put it like this: these animals, because some animals do care what time you turn off the lights and put your behind the bed. But these animals, they don't care what time you go to bed. But when it come time to feed and walk me, you getting up. Okay. So, but yeah, if I finally went to sleep, I was tired. He came in there in the morning to wake me up for his morning walk. And I noticed at that point, I looked at him and I was like, oh gosh, we got to go to the vet today. And I looked at him, all the hives were gone. He was happier. He was tired. He was tired, but he wanted his walk. So we did his walk. Not long. When it came time to leave the park to come back home. And at that point, I knew that I wasn't going back to the other parks, and I'll let the owner know what happened with that. So, but yeah. So that's just one example of, watching and being mindful of your pet's habits, paying attention to what they do, keeping your eyes open. Okay. All right. So let's see, I got a little bit of a list here. That was good. Okay, that's enough. Okay, that's enough about the pet. I know I enjoy the dogs and the pets and pet watching, but okay. I said this wasn't going to be real long. Okay. Things about me and my healing process. The two things that I've noticed here while I'm here. One of them was, since I've been here, most of the places that I've sat, they have alcohol. Okay. I'm not normally a drinker. I have one drink I like, and that's Kahlua mixed with cream. And I had got a little, how do you call it? What's the term? Nonchalant about drinking. I drink for taste. If I'm drunk, it's because I like the taste of something. I don't drink alcohol to get drunk. I drink alcohol because I like the flavor. That's why I'm Kahlua and cream. I like the flavor. It tastes like coffee with cream in it. It's sweet coffee with cream. And but I found out that at this particular brand of Jim Beam, I guess I could mix it with sugar, and it would have that taste, that coffee-like taste. So I started drinking that when I was on the sit for the 3 weeks, and then there were 2 sits, and then I got here, and of course they got a lot of stuff here, which is, every place is different. Some places they got 3 bottles. One place I went, she didn't have nothing. So everybody's different. But anyway, I did the Courtney. She had one of the a Jamaican rum that I heard a lot about. I wanted to try, and so I was doing that, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, but I wasn't. It wasn't making me drunk. I was drinking, you know, 8, 12 ounces, different times of the day. No big deal. But oh my gosh, but I'm a homebody for the most part. And a lot of it's because I don't like wearing bras. I think they're an invention by men meant to suffer for women to suffer. But anyway, um, I was going out and I very rarely went out just because I don't when I go out, I'll be responsible most of the time. I'll put on my bra, but I don't like it. That's why half the time I don't go out. But anyway, I would go out, and then one day I was like, my side started hurting underneath my rib cage, and I was like, oh man, that bra. And then one day I noticed I didn't have on a bra, and I woke up in the morning and the pain was there. And I was like, wait a minute. I didn't even have that bra on yesterday, and the pain was worse. And it was like, okay, what happened? What did I do? And I remember the night before I had a big glass, like a 12 ounce glass of milk with the Jamaican rum. And it dawned on me. I started thinking back. I had been drinking some form of milk with alcohol or whatever every day for the past 3 weeks to a month because I like the taste. And basically, I figured out that I had alcohol poisoning. And I was like, and I'm from a family of, even though my parents didn't drink, they were from, my mother's father was a drinker. My father, I don't know about him with his family because I just don't know a lot about that other than my grandmother, and she didn't drink. That I know of, I'll put it like that. Um, but my aunt, she passed away from uh alcoholism. And come to think of it, my mother ended up with sclerosis of the liver, even though she didn't drink. Cirrhosis of the liver, even though she didn't drink, which, she had got to be on a bunch of meds. I think a lot of the medicine, either you're gonna have some kind of failure, either kidney, some kind of adrenal failure from most medications, kidney, liver, spleen, or whatever. You're gonna have something. But she had developed that in her life. So when that happened to me, I was like, okay. And it was painful. And it reminded me, even though it wasn't the exact same area, it reminded me when I used to smoke. When I would smoke, I didn't have as much of a cough like a lot of smokers get as I had just pain. It had got to be where if I was smoking a cigarette, it got to be where somebody felt like somebody punched me in the back within, I don't know, within an hour after I smoked a cigarette. I would have lung pain, and I was able to stop pretty much cold turkey. Every now and then, if I was at a club or somewhere where people were drinking, I might ask somebody for a cigarette or whatever. But overall, I didn't. I just stopped. I mean, the pain in it, and this reminded me of that. And I had the alcohol bottle sitting here on the table. I put them back up, and I was done. I haven't had. It's been almost 2 weeks. I don't have to have it. There are other stuff I can drink, other poisons I can drink, if you want to call it that. Soda, other sugary drinks or whatever. I drank a bunch of water. I will add milk thistle to my traveling repertoire to fully detox my liver or kidneys or whatever damage is done. to kind of reverse that, stabilize and reverse that. And I believe that your body, it regenerates cells often. So I learned that about myself. So I don't miss it. Maybe at some point I'll be more mindful of, I said maybe, I will be more mindful of, if I drink, what effects it has on my body. That's the one thing that I've learned, and that leads me into the next things I've learned about is de-stressing. I'm at a different level of non-stress. That came about. I used to be pretty embarrassed for bathroom habits that I had. Growing up, I didn't have, there was a lot of shame around me going to the bathroom. And so I grew up with apologizing, making excuses, really not, honestly, not able to fully release. I had, in 2014, I had a hernia repair surgery. And I knew then going in that a lot of it was holding back when I had to go to the bathroom. I've had, in my workplace, I've had supervisors, other co-workers follow me into bathroom, making noise, you know, in a not an individual bathroom, but a women's bathroom. Coming in, oh, it stinks in here, and you know, being hesitant to pass gas, and then they'll run out on the work floor and tell other people Deborah's been in the bathroom. I mean, this is a personal part of me, and I'm just going to say it because I know I'm not the only one. I might be not in the majority, but I know I'm not the only one. And they would just talk, and it reminded me of when I was younger, and a comment that my grandmother once made to me, you know, how do you go to other people's houses and use the bathroom? And honestly, I knew back then at an early age that I felt safer in other people's houses and stuff like that. And so very little remedies. I'll put it like the remedies I've had to find it on my own, when I just through osmosis and hearing and reading about it and stuff like that. And so then that's how I learned. And since I've been here with the pets don't care. They don't fuss at you. They don't cuss. As a matter of fact, most of the pets, when you get in, go in and to use the restroom or the toilet, they following you in there. I mean, and they're generally following you in there because they want to get pet. They realize that you're in a trapped position, and they're coming in there to get pet and loved on or whatever. Why are you sitting on the toilet? They don't fuss, they don't gripe. Now with me, the pets they got to the point where they don't sleep in the bed with me because I move a lot. I'm moving my legs, I'm up and down using the bathroom, you know, shifting the covers, trying to get, you know, under the covers a little bit more to trap off the air blowing. I move at night. I put it like that. I move in the bed at night. And part of that is passing gas. But I found myself apologizing to the pet when I do that. And I also realized that I was, how do you call it? Trying to, almost like an apology to myself, and to, you know, almost like, you don't need to do that, or, you know, excuse me to the spirits and the angel. And I realized I have never given myself permission to do a very human need body reaction. You gotta get off whatever your process is, whatever every living being releases toxins. And I was feeling very subconscious and very hesitant doing that. And it dawned on me, it was like one night about, oh gosh, about a week, a little bit more than a week ago, week and a half ago, I had to physically say out of my mouth, Deborah, you have permission to fart. And I realized that I had been holding back a body release almost all of my life. And basically what it was, I mean, I'm tearing up now that I went into a full-fledged release. Tears, I could feel my body relaxing, just letting go. It was like every cell in my body was releasing, and it was coming through my colon, and it was releasing. I went to the bathroom 2 or 3 times before the morning. Just full body release and relaxation. I slept almost for 2 days, aside from walking the dog and feeding them. I slept for 2 full days, just release, relax. It's okay. Now, if you eat broccoli, which I like, broccoli or some other cruciferous plant, the gas is going to be a little bit, the release is going to be a little bit of smell, and there are ways to alleviate that. There are incense in bathrooms. And that's was the correlation. Okay, you've given yourself permission to do that. Now let's learn how to work to lessen the, what do you call it? Insult, I guess, to other people. Okay, but if you don't have the lesson of insult, that doesn't mean that you can't fully release on this side. And I had been doing that all my life. It was almost like asking for permission to be human, asking for permission to be a living being. And I don't do that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. So this is a good phase for me to just be around animals that don't judge. They don't care. As long as you walk them and feed them, pet them, treat them right, they don't care. They really don't care. So, and matter of fact, I think a couple of the pets actually like the smell, which is a whole nother story or two. But yeah, in your healing journey, realize you have permission to be you. You're put here for a reason, a higher purpose, if you want to call it that, from the higher being, from God. Which is what I got to when I realized that I had to supersede the authority of my parents. So, if you get something out of this, let me know. I said this wasn't going to be long. This ended up being longer than that. I'm going to get off here because I need to go do some sightseeing. Today is my last full day here. I need to go do a little bit of sightseeing. The last full day here with a car. I will be back later on in the year, but yes, like I said, my name is Deborah. If it didn't record earlier, I'm the creator of Radical Health Series here on YouTube. And y'all take care. Like, comment, subscribe if you like what I got to say. Other than that, take care. All right, bye.